Afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching around the world, whatever time of day or night it is. A warm welcome to you. Uh, and we have a whole team of people working to bring eSailing and the Nations Cup semi-final to you tonight. So, first up, let's introduce my co-commentator, Lucas Moore, who is sitting in Denmark. Lucas, a very good evening to you.
Good evening, Alec. Thank you for having me.
So we have 15 nations 6 weeks ago whittled down to the final four, and it is semi-final number one, France against Spain this evening. So two of the best teams, some of the best teams in the world. Which one is going to win through? We're expecting a really close match, aren't we, Lucas?
Yeah, I think this is probably it. This could have been a final of the Nations Cup. I think both teams, or one of them, is going to be very unlucky to having being faced by probably the winning team of the Nations Cup, in my opinion. I think both of these teams have a really high level of players. Many of them have been to multiple world championships. So I think we're going to have a heck of a game tonight.
Okay, we're going to look at the draw now. We're going to look at the format of the evening, so we can run through those for people who are new to the Nations Cup. Two great tournaments, of course, in the World Championship. That's a singles competition, and this is the big trophy that we race for annually in the world of eSailing. So I don't know if our technical boys can show us the draw graphics to see maybe how we got to. Oh, this is the format then, and 9 races of tonight. So uh, let's just explain this to those of you who are new. So we've got 9 races, different types of boats. Some of the boats are raced twice, for example, the Star class. Um, Race number one will be 10 against 10. The teams are made up of 10 players with 2 substitutes should they need some reserves. So it's everyone involved in the first race, everyone's involved in the ninth race. And those opening and closing races, Lucas, are mental, aren't they?
Yeah, especially I think the 10 versus 10. Maybe some teams have mastered being 10 on a team, good communication skills, and other teams it's a bit more a coin toss what happens.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
could be we have a 10 versus 10 race as the decider for tonight. Let's hope not. Hope it's done before that, so we get a good last race if one team wins.
Okay, well, let's get straight out onto the water, where we are just, what, about 40 seconds away from the start of our very first race. So this is more than just a warm up because they have to come out ready to race and ready to try and get as many of their boats. Because remember, this is a team effort, as many of their boats across that finish line as early as possible. 20 seconds to go then. It's in the 49er, one of the fastest boats on the Olympic circuit and one of the fastest boats in eSailing. So here we go. Just a few seconds to go. They're jostling for position, and that line is going to feel very, very narrow with only 20 boats on it, Lucas.
Yeah, we see a group of boats just doing what we call a penalty start, where you get a penalty around 10 seconds before the gun, or you cross the
Yeah.
line, and then you can start on port tack, crossing all the starboard boats, and getting that starboard advantage on the first cross. Sometimes it works out great, other
Okay, so
times not so.
a fairly a fairly mixed start then for both teams. So Spain doing pretty well now, moving up into the top 10, and really they want the highest possible score here to win this to get a point is 55. So they're trying to get as many boats up through the fleet as possible on the first upwind leg.
Yeah, we see quite a lot of yellow boats in the top at the moment. But yeah, let's hope that both teams have their spare players counting the points while we're racing, so they have some sort of idea of how they're doing. Looks like most of the boats are going to the right-hand side. Looks like the wind shift is also on the right. So it's
Okay,
going to be an interesting first
it's
mark rounding.
quite sticky for me, the visual. So I don't know about you, Lucas, but I'm struggling a little bit to see some of these
Yeah, fortunately the the
some of
color's
these
quite hard to
graphics.
see.
So here we go,
But
Carlos
it looks
Paz.
like
I can see on the of Spain out in front.
it's pretty mixed now at the top. So we don't have a team that's clear ahead yet, which will look for a good fight on the first downwind. Some
So
penalties for the
the leaders
Spanish.
now on that ley line, heading up to the top mark for the first time. And it looks like Norzet is round in the lead for Spain. Then it's France, then it's Spain, then it's France. So pretty mixed in the top five. But there's a big bulk of French boats now coming up to the top mark, and they're going to want to move up the fleet to try and take on some of the Spanish leaders.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to see now is the boats are going to try just stay in clear air on the first downwind here. You can't really lose, or you can lose a lot, but you can't really win much on the first downwind, I feel. So it's really about just positioning yourself for the next upwind where it's the best place to try to help your teammates back in the top.
Yeah, now you see them accelerate away downwind, 23 knots. This boat can reach downwind as they're halfway through this second leg. Choosing the middle of the course, that's where they seem to think that the breeze is strongest.
Yeah, the
And
49er
already the
is
leaders
actually
see that bottom go.
the 49ers fastest if you just keep jibing to where the wind shifts are. So if you keep sailing in the pressure, the boat goes much faster than if you just try go to one side and play the shift.
So Nozet, LDLN of Spain, is in control, a good 60 meters ahead of Jinsu. But France doing really well here because they've bunched four boats in between second and seventh place, and that is good for the ultimate score. Remember, this is all about a team effort. It's not just about getting a winner.
Yeah, it looks like there's not much Nauset he can do unless he stops his boat and tries to go back and help. But that's not always the best tactic in these 10 versus 10 races. It looks like Spain is jumping a bit up on the leaderboard now. A couple boats from 8th to 14th. Looks like the France are having the last couple of positions currently.
Yeah, so we've got France in 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. They are in a bad position and they need to work their way up through the fleet to try and get a victory for their country. But look, they've got a yellow and red wall in front of them and they're running out of time because the leaders are up to the top mark almost. And then it's going to be a fast downwind leg to the finish. And time is running out for the French to catch that Spanish wall between
Yeah,
8th and 12th.
it looks like Nauset is stopping his boat, trying to slow down some of the French boats in order for maybe J. Parejo to catch back up and hand out some penalties to the remaining French boats on the top. So this could be
Oh, here we go. He's on the
an
attack. Oh no, he's rounded. I thought he was going to go on the
oh
attack
he
and try
got
and inflict the penalties. He is, and he's put a
one
penalty
penalty.
on Pepito. Penalty there, and Pitchnet Trap manages to get around. And this is what I mean about it being, a team game, a team effort, because he is now trying to help the rest of his team catch the French.
Yeah, so they must have been talking in the team, trying to get him to go back and slow down some of the French boats. You see a massive yellow wall approaching,
Look at
coming
all those
downwind
yellow
now.
spinnakers, the Spanish now moving up the fleet. France taking first, second, and third, but then there's a wall of Spanish boats, and watch them. It's cat and mouse all the way to the finish line now.
I don't think it's over yet. I think the Spanish, looks like they're having a hard time at the moment. A lot of French boats have passed them here on the second upwind. So I think it's still all to play for going down to the finish line.
Now you're going to see the finish line come into view on the right hand side any second now. It's France first, second, and third. Then we've got 4 French boats chasing them, but more importantly, they're trying to slow down the Spanish boats are trying to slow down the French boats that are now behind them to allow the rest of the team at the back of the fleet to catch them.
It's going to be.
So there we go. So it's a first, second, and third for France. And well, it's impossible right now to do the maths. We're going to have to wait for the official decision, and we'll have to wait for the race management to tell us who's won it after they've got their calculators out. But look at this. It's a fight on the line, right on the line, just to try and hold back the French at the rear of the race. So confirmation then of the first, second, and third. Jinsu, Barbie 22, and Pitchnet taking the podium in that first race. But then comes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red and yellow Spanish boats. Then come a load of French, and it might just be as we scroll down that these Spanish boats near the back of the fleet in 14th, 16th, Carlos Paz, Rausenlag, all names that we normally expect up near the front at the end of a race. And it might be that they, in the end, cost Spain victory in that first race. We shall have to wait a few seconds for confirmation of who's won the race. Talk us through some of these stats.
Yeah, so we see it's actually the Spanish having the best start. I don't think it really matters in these 10 versus 10 races. It's also about helping your teammates advancing through the field. Now set, max wind speed. I think it helps being in the front, getting the wind first. And then we have Pepito with 21 penalties.
Wow.
That's an impressive stat. And maybe still winning the match.
Yeah, that is an impressive stat. Let's just have a little think about that race as we wait for confirmation of the result, which is that France scored 95, Spain 115. So the point goes to France for race number 1. It's now France 1, Spain 0, with 8 races still to go. Well, that said, Spain had won it. So we've got a little bit of a contradiction there.
Probably have a new graphic up soon with the correct team. So it just shows that it's really expensive.
Yeah.
It's really expensive having the last couple of positions in these 10 versus 10 races. It's a lot of points you're accumulating. So we have the women's star race now coming up.
Yeah, so we've got there we go, confirmation then that France won that particular race. So it's France 1, Spain 0. That's the 49er. And we're now going to move on to the star class. Now, again, if you're new to this, you're going to see very different sort of racing, apart from the fact that this is 1 against 1, and it's the females, the female sailors from each team that will be going head to head in this. But a very different race in obviously in tactics, but also in the style of boat and the style of sailing, Lucas.
Yeah, this is going to be a very slow race compared to what we just saw. It's all going to come down to if you're going to be able to keep your cool on maybe the last downwind, last jibe into the finish line. And Yeah, some players like to be behind on the last downwind, and some players like to be in the lead. It all comes down to what you master, the attacking or the defending.
Okay, so just let's confirm who our sailors are then. We've got Barbie sailing for France and Marina Garau of Spain competing for her country with just 40 seconds to go. It's a very sort of tactical race, isn't it, Lucas? And that begins, those tactics, those strategies, or start now before they've even crossed the start line.
Yeah, so we see like in real life match racing, they're doing the circles, jousting for position here in the start. It's all about who's going to be ahead out of the start line.
And it's all about
Um,
getting the position that they want on that start line.
yeah, and you also got to have to keep an eye on the radar to see what the wind's doing if you want to do a quick tack after crossing the start line. Looks
Here we
like
go then.
Spain
Three,
are in a
two,
controlling
one. They
position.
all go in race number 2 in the star class. It's female against female. We do have later on another star class race with male against male. So Marin Garau of Spain on the right hand side of the screen.
Nice controlling position for the Spanish. Looks like they could just continue to the ley line and do one tack to the mark. And then we see it's very close, just 2 meters separating the two boats. So you're probably going to see in the first downwind here, it's going to be one big chase. Whoever's going to round the gate the first might be the winner. But yeah, again, the star boats are very slow compared to the 49er, and it's going to come down to how good your defending or attacking skills are on the
Yeah,
downwind.
it's all about the downwind leg in the start class, and we've often seen that very final leg of the race being the deciding one, and that's because of the wind shadow that these boats create. We'll talk about it when they reach that mark and start heading downwind. But right now, Barbie 22 of France is a little bit under the control of the Spanish boat.
Luckily, they weren't going forever. So now we're going back to the windward mark. You see there's some breeze on the right-hand side of the course. So they're probably going to do a quick jibe after the top mark, going into the breeze, and then it's just going to probably be one long fight down to the gate.
Barbie 22 was part of the last year's winning French team. They are, of course, the defending champions in this Nations Cup here in 2022. But at the moment, it's Marina Garau who has a slight advantage coming up to the top mark for the first time in this second race of the first semi-final of the 2022 Nations Cup.
Looks like the breeze is picked up. That actually makes it a bit easier to be in front if you get that 30-meter lead on the upwind. The more wind you have for the downwind, the easier it is to stay in front. And the less wind we have, the stronger the wind shadow is on the star.
That's right. Well, Marina Garau has the advantage. They go to the second mark there. They turn and they start to head downwind. Now, let's just explain what we've been talking about. That wind shadow, you can see the white on the water. That is the sort of turbulent air that comes off the sails as they head downwind. And obviously, with the wind behind them, they can create a shadow of turbulent breeze and even no breeze for the boat in front. So the yellow boat is going to start sort of jibing and maneuvering to try and get out and away from Barbie 22's shadow, but it's tough. Oh, and a penalty
Nice work.
there. She sailed straight into her.
Yeah, so what the Spanish boat was trying to do is just, oh, penalty for the Spanish boat now, going upwind as well. So this is what you do in the start. The downwind's all about trying to give the other boat a penalty and then trying to just sneak away below the wind shadow.
Well, there was no
Looks like
sneaking away for the Spanish boat. She's got it all wrong, picks up a penalty of her own, and now is dropping back behind the French boat. So penalties galore there. And in the end, it was the Spanish boat, Marina Garau, who's paid the biggest penalty of all and is now playing catch up against Barbie 22.
looks like we had a small mistake of pressing the best VMG button after driving, going a bit too far upwind. Hitting the best VMG just sends you upwind without, and you can't really stop it until you realize.
Well, of course, we don't know if she's playing on a phone, a tablet, or on a desktop or laptop or what. So some sort of finger issue going on there. But what an expensive mistake that is from the Spanish sailor. Now, upwind, it's going to be tough for her to close the gap. But the boats have split now. Something had to happen. She couldn't just follow Barbie 22 upwind because that was never going to be enough. So she's gone to the left-hand side of the course to search for more breeze.
Yeah, it looks like it wasn't the best split for the Spanish boat. The wind is going to the right, which is gonna just extend the lead of the French boat. Really good sailing from the French here.
Now, there is another quarterfinal, I should say, going on tonight to decide who will meet the winner of the semi-final that we're watching here, France or Spain. The quarterfinal is Great Britain against Turkey, and they started around about the same time as this match did, and it is currently Turkey 1, Great Britain 0. We will keep you up to date on that throughout this semi-final. So here we go with Barbie 22. She's built up quite a lead now, and it's a lead that is big enough for that wind shadow not to have an effect, I think, as they head downwind for the final time in a moment.
Yeah, really expensive mistake from the Spanish boat on the first downwind. The French have just been extending the whole upwind, really playing the shifts well.
And it goes to show what can happen when when you're under pressure, because yes, there was a penalty inflicted on the French boat, but it all suddenly got too much. There was too much going on, and that forced a mistake from the Spanish boat. Right, they're at the top mark for the final time, and Barbie 22 now turns left and downwind for the final time, and you can see there the
100
finish
meter
line in
lead.
the distance. And if we spin round and look back, you can see just how big that lead is. And there is no way back for Marina Garau on 150 meters.
Well done by the French boat. Really well executed first downwind. And then the second upwind, just extending the lead all the way.
I mean, Barbara, that's who Barbie is. Barbie 22, 31 years old, from Brittany, one of the oldest players taking part, actually. There are older ones. We'll look through and find them for you in a moment. But a very young crowd in the French team this year. And again, compare the duration of this race with the 49ers that were over in the blink of an eye. And we're now coming up to the 8th minute of this race as Barbie 22 approaches the finish line. No pressure from behind. France really sealing the victory on the very first downwind leg, thanks in part to the pressure put on the Spanish boat and that forced a mistake from Marina Garau. So France take that second race. Spain just coming in to cross the finish line now. And it's now France 2, Spain 0.
A lot of pressure on the Spanish team now. 2 points behind after 2 races.
Of course, it's the first team to 5. We've got 9 races, and France just need 3 more victories to take the semi-final and go through to our final next week. And again, some stats there for you to look through, Lucas.
Yeah, as we saw from the start, Spanish Marina having the best start. Still a bit late, but that's match racing. It doesn't matter when you start, as long as you're in front. And then Barbie just doing a really solid race. Best average speed, shortest distance sailed. Just really well executed race.
Barbara's a sailing coach, and she's certainly given us a lesson in how to take on your competition in that second race of this semi-final. Now we can look ahead to our next race. It's the Offshore Racer, relatively new boat, I guess, to inshore racing anyway, Lucas.
Yeah, I think we've been playing it quite a lot in the community. A lot of teams have been practicing up to the Nations Cup in the Offshore Racer. It adds a new dimension. I think it's a very different boat compared to the classic team race boats we use in Virtual Regatta. A big wind shadow, very long, hard to escape from, and then just being 5 versus 5, it requires very good teamwork, team coordination of how to avoid each other. It's a long boat, big bowsprit, also on the upwind, so I think it's going to be some interesting racing we're going to see now.
Yeah, and again, different from all from the previous two races as far as tactics and strategy are concerned. So let's have a look at who is representing their country here. We've got Creek, Pepito, Gadek, and Stefan representing France, and one other who will wait for confirmation of the name. And then it's Louis 1948 for Spain, Rausenlag, Carlos, Nauzet, and Jusut of representing Spain in this offshore boat. Now, a lot of the time you talk to the sailors and they have a favourite boat. This one doesn't come up that often in their list of favourites. Why is that, Lucas?
Well, I think it's the boat handling of the boat is a bit off compared to the other boats. It's a bit more, well, I feel it's a bit more clumsy compared to, for example, the J70. It's not raced as often. People don't have as much experience in it. Yeah, I think some people really like it. Maybe the teams have really been practicing this boat as it could be a deciding race for the final score.
Yeah, I mean, in boats like the 49er and the Nacra, which we'll see as the final race, which will be absolutely crazy if you've never seen that before. But those faster boats, you often see sailors, getting penalties on the opposition. But with this bigger, heavier offshore racer, it's more difficult, isn't it, to avoid picking up penalties. So it leads to a more cautious sort of way of sailing it, of strategy and tactics.
Correct. The boat turns a bit slower than the smaller, faster boats, so that's also something you gotta count into your maneuvers when avoiding other boats.
All right, not many seconds to go now to the start. Here we go. As always, Spain with the yellow sails. The pink ones belong to the French, and they are away. And it looks like Pepito. There might have been a penalty there for Pepito. Was he over early? And the penalty, Lucas, is a slowing down of your boat.
Yeah, slowing down and ghosting your boat so you can't interfere with the racing while you're in a penalty.
So let's have a look at where they all seem fairly confident that the middle of the racetrack is the place to be right now, with the majority heading on this tack to the right hand side of the course. Now a couple of the French beginning to cross and move to the left. Have they spotted something, do you think, or are they defending their position?
Yeah, at the moment it looks like Spain is in a good controlling position, trying to slow down some of the French boats, just pushing them into the wind shadow, keeping them slow so they can get now set back up in the fight. Looks like the wind is pretty even, a bit of a right shift at the moment. And you just see the boats just keep tacking, trying to slow each other down, try to force penalties. And that's what this team racing is all about.
Parejo, the right of way boat, so forcing the French out of sort of out away from the ley lines, those white dotted lines. They're the optimum route to the top mark, which they're all approaching now as they bunch up. And it's going to be a good, solid Spanish lead here with the first 4 Spanish boats leading the rest of the fleet round. Then it's France in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, also good positions. And in this race with 5 against 5, basically you need 27 or less to win. So you can do the maths as we race here.
Unfortunate penalty for Carlos in the top mark rounding. Getting stuck behind the 4 French boats now. So we see the front 2 French boats covering the 2 Spanish boats. The wind shadow is also really strong on this boat. And I think we're going to have a close penalty for Spain. Looks like the French have been doing a good job of attacking on this first downwind.
Yeah. It's kind of attacking by, or defending their position by attacking the boats behind and in front of them. But you're absolutely right. The advantage downhill is crucial. 45-meter downwind wind shadow. So
See
that's
Lewis
right.
slowing down, trying to put some wind shadow on the French boats, helping his teammates.
Yep. So that wind shadow working upwind as well, just not as significantly. And you can see in the middle there the battle going on. I think that's between Rausenlag and Alex, possibly on that left-hand side of the course, as he tries to force out the French boat. The French boat tacks to try and get away, but Rausenlag wants to stay in control. And now Louis is coming in to help in that battle as Rausenlag goes left. I think he spotted this other French boat, and they're
He won't be
trying
able to
to.
cross.
Oh,
Penalty.
and it's penalty on Rausenlag. He pushed it too much, and Louis comes back and also joins the fight. Another penalty on Rausenlag. So Gadek really giving Rausenlag a bit of a lesson there in attack.
This is a really good comeback from the French. Only 1 Spanish boat left in the lead. 4 French boats, as it looks like, in the next positions.
So
But
here we
it's still
come
very close.
to the mark. It's so close. Gadek of France, Louis, Alex. So the French moving up the fleet now and slowly taking control of this race as
It
the
looks like
Spanish.
Pepito is doing a mark trap, slowing down the rest of the Spanish boats, letting his 3
Oh,
teammates just go ahead.
mark trap from
Another mark trap
Pepito.
from Pepito.
Wow.
4
Okay.
Spanish penalties.
You really need to know what you're doing to do that. And it seems to have worked because it is a France 1-2 heading towards that finish line. They're also got 4th and 5th, and I think that's going to be enough to get them a 3rd victory. But the battle still goes on at the back of the fleet here between Carlos and Pepito. They're still slugging it out all the way down this final leg.
Big love from Luis to Stefan. Looks like he's trying to slow him down so the Spanish boats can catch back up, but it might be too late for anything to do. Stefan in a good
Victory
position
for
now, can just jibe.
Gadek, victory for Alex. Creek now comes in for France. It's going to be a
Penalty
first,
for
second,
Lewis.
3rd, and 4th for France. And I think that will be enough to get them another point in this semi-final as we watch those final yellow sails come in at the rear of the race. So, Lucas, what do the Spanish have to do to come back from here?
It's hard to see, or it's hard to tell. I think they had a really good start to this race. Unfortunately, they don't manage to stay in front. They can't handle the attack of the French boats on the first downwind, and then it just kind of crumbles from there. The French are really fast in figuring out when and where to attack the Spanish players. So a couple of mistakes from the Spanish guys that are usually very good team racers. Feels like the French have a bit of an overhand against them in the series.
Yeah, so France. Wow, do you know what? That what's that organizer there, number 11? That's
That's not a race
we
officer.
disregard that. We can
Yeah,
disregard that.
that's the
So
race
I was
officer.
just doing I was adding up the positions there and working out the math. So 10, I think they got 20 points, the French. So that is going to be a French victory. And my goodness, we started this saying, we've got two of the best teams in the world. It's going to be a really close semi-final. And here we are, 3 races done, and it's 3-0 to France. Who would have thought?
Who
Let's have a
would have
look at
thought?
some of the stats. Confirmation then, France 3-0 up. I'm going to add another little one to my sheet of paper here that I add up as we go along. And
So we see
yeah,
really good start from the Spanish. They have the top 4 positions, 1, 2, 3 after the start, in a really good controlling position on the first upwind. You see the yellow lines going up to top 3, and then the French start attacking on the first downwind, manage to get ahead in the gate rounding, and then they just extend from there. Really good job from Pepito slowing down the 4 Spanish boats on the second windward mark with a good mark trap. I think he managed to do 2 mark traps as well. So really well done from him.
it was a stunning race from Pepito, and one of the cornerstones, one of the mainstays of the French team. Hugely experienced eSailer despite his age, but really on fire tonight. Now, when they sort of planning going into these races and they work out a strategy, do they actually all sit down, these teams, and discuss how they're going to race in? Do they go through each race, wondering and deciding on their tactics?
Yeah, I'm very sure that both the French and the Spanish do. I'm also sure that they do have some team practices, and I see a lot of the players in Team Race League just practicing team racing in general. It really helps a lot. Doesn't matter if you're racing with your team members all the time, but of course it's good to build up the team chemistry and make sure people know what to do in certain situations when it's getting close and tight on the race course.
Let me just give you an update on the quarter-final that is going on at the moment between Great Britain and Turkey. Great Britain have now equalised, so it is 1-1 after 2 races. The all-female race head-to-head in the star class was won by Great Britain, so it is now 1-1 in that quarter-final. The winner of that quarter-final will meet either France or Spain in the final. And in the final. So interestingly enough, we are now 3-0 up to France, and we're going to move on to race number 4 in the J70. So also quite a big boat, Lucas.
Yeah, the J70 is probably one of the most raced boats in virtual regatta team racing.
Yep.
It's in general, just also in real life, a really nice boat for one design fleet racing. And here in virtual regatta, the wind shadow is nearly perfect for just team racing. It's really good boat handling, turns fast, the spinnaker drop is fast, and yeah, just makes up a really good boat for some really close racing.
It's a boat that in real sailing has been around since 2012. And as you said, really popular in eSailing as well because of its maneuverability. The downwind legs will often make the difference between winning and losing. So we will see how they decide to race this. It's 4 against 4. So it's a combination that we haven't yet seen in this semi-final. And how will the strategy be different from the races we've seen so far?
I think now we're coming down to a lower team member count in the races, so it's going to be more about getting one player ahead, so you at least have secured 1 point. And then it's going to be all about mastering the mark trap, getting your teammates in a good position after the
Yeah.
windward mark.
I'm going to interrupt you. Let's get on the water because I can see them bunching up together. There's lots of little fights going on, lots of little dog fights going on between these boats. It's gone to 0. The race is underway. Penalty for Ramon, penalty for Gadek. So not the best of starts. A penalty for Spain, a penalty for France there.
So
Even spread out across the line. Yes, Lucas?
the Spanish again showed that they're really good at starting. So now you just gotta try hold on to this controlling position that they currently have. Looks like the boats are starting to head to the right hand side. Big wind shift or gusts coming out there. So currently looking good for the Spanish. Let's see if Pepito and Alex K can do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trend has been that the Spanish have generally started well, as you said, but then the French have gone on the attack on the downwinds in the previous races and have come out on top. But really, Spain need to get a score here. They're 3-0 down and they're running out of time in this first to 5 semi-final.
Looks like the two Tristan and is it Pepito or Gadek that had a very bad start has
It was Gadek that picked
gained
up the
some
penalty.
meters on the right hand side. So the French are back in it, I would say, coming up to the maybe the last tack into the windward mark.
Yeah, there's that. Well, they've built a wall, haven't they, in the middle of the fleet behind first and second, and I think we're going to see the leading French boats at some point slow down and start attacking those
Nice
chasing
foul down
boats.
from
Begun
Luis,
already.
forcing a penalty on Alex. But again, we see the French.
Oh, and another
Another
attempt there.
penalty.
A penalty on Pepito from Parejo.
Looks like we're going to have a Spanish 1-2 at the windward mark, closely followed by two French boats.
All
So now we're
choosing
just
to.
seeing, trying to slow each other down using the wind shadow, trying to tack away. But yeah, nothing's over yet. France have done a really good job at getting back into the race with their two players who had a horrible start.
Right, here we go then. They're coming up to that top mark, and two Spanish boats are going to round that mark in the lead, but they're not. They're picking a fight. He pushed the Tristan Perron was pushed out by the Spanish boat, and that's allowed
A lot of
another.
mistakes from the Spanish in this windward mark rounding. Hopefully they're able to recover from this to keep the race alive. Still one and
Yeah,
two.
still,
Trying a
still,
mark trap.
still early days though, as
Penalty to
Carlos
Tristan.
Carlos just slowing down, just being a real pain and making himself an obstruction for the chasing French boats.
So the Spanish they want to try get two boats away in this downwind leg, trying to have two boats ahead on the next upwind. That really helps in slowing down the other team. Just forcing your wind shadow and slowing them down. But it doesn't look like the French are letting them go just yet.
So here we go down to the bottom gate. So it's Spain 1,
Nice
France
move
2.
from Jesus.
Parejo coming in at speed as well. in fourth place. And it's a real cat and mouse battle there between those three French boats and the leading Spanish
Another
boats.
penalty.
Penalty on Tristan, penalty on Ramon Parejo.
So Luisi's going to try to do a good job of trying to slow down the French boats while also not slowing him down himself too much in case one French boat just goes to one side. But it looks like they're all sticking together at the moment, trying to push down Alex K into Carlos, forcing him to tack.
There is so little in this race right now. They are bow to bow, working their way up to the top mark for the final time. Just a leg and a half of this race left. And I mean, the leaderboard says it's France, it's Spain, France, France, Spain, but it is so close. It's impossible to call right now as Gadek takes on a one-to-one battle with Carlos Parejo.
Looks like the wind might be going a bit to the right, giving a really good chance for the Spanish to take the lead back.
Have a
Looks like
little
Carlos
dance
is
there between those two boats as the French boat heads out to the ley line, gets himself into position between the two Spanish, and now they are steaming at 6 knots towards that top mark.
so
Who is
Luis
going
is
to get there first?
trying to slow down Gadek without losing his position to Alex K. It's a really fine balance you gotta find. How much do you want to slow down and also not lose out on the other boat? Fortunately, a penalty for the colors for the Spanish team. The French are doing a really nice job of just staying away from penalties and handing them out instead. Looks like
Of course, on real water sailing, it's all about avoiding picking up penalties. It's very different in the eSailing world.
a very slow tack from Pepito, but Tristan just sailing around inside the zone, handing out a penalty to Ramon, bringing Pepito back in the race.
So here we go, the final leg. This is going to be the deciding moment. The next sort of minute, minute and a half will give us the winner of this race. And it's Louis out in front. But do you think we're going to see him sort of turn around and try and slow the chasing French boats? Or is he just going to go for that victory?
Yeah, I think he has to at some point decide if he's going to slow down or not. Pepito has one job of just slowing down Ramon, so he secures at least last place for them, or second last place. Looks like Luis is having a hard time trying to slowing down the leading French boats, trailing French boats. Again, solid racing from the French team. Looks like they've been practicing their team race tactics also together as a team. Looks very well coordinated
Of course, the
what they're doing.
4v4 race can finish in a draw if it is. The team who gets second place in the race actually win it. So we'll count the points and see how this goes as Alex K of France crosses the finish line for victory. Louis is side by side with him. Then comes Gadek, and then it's fourth and fifth for Spain, sixth and seventh for France, and Ramon Parejo brings up
Playing for his
the
life.
rear. But there's Tristan. Tristan
Will he be
right at
able
the
to
back.
overtake? No, I
Can he
think
get
that's
in front of him on the finish line?
looks like
The
he's
fight
actually
for
gonna
wind
help
still there.
Pepito.
Oh, the fight is still going on behind them. We've picked up the wrong boats there. So let's have a look at the two that are coming in. And Tristan and Pepito are taking on the Spanish boat, trying to slow him down. And look at this. It's a fight on the line between those final four boats to decide it. And we're going to have to wait and see when they've done the
Looks
math
like a
who gets
French.
the victory. Say that again, Lucas.
Looks like a French victory. Really good job from Pepito just slowing down the back of the race and trying to keep him on as far away as possible from the group. So it's really important to have a solid team. It's really important to have a guy who's really good at mark traps, really good at slowing down the other or just one boat in this case.
Yeah. So France getting 17 points there, and that is going to be enough for victory, we think. We'll just wait for it to be officially confirmed. Some interesting stats as well. 8.1 knots, best average speed from Gadek.
A good start again from the Spanish. Unfortunately, they get caught on the left-hand side. The French going to the right, getting the starboard advantage, and just doing a good job of keeping the race close together and succeeding in the end.
Wow, what do you think is making France so strong to have given them a 4-0 lead against a team like Spain, so traditionally so strong?
I think in this case it's a mix of the French have some really good individually skilled players. You could argue that they have the best Virtual Regatta player, or the most, yeah, at least for the most years he's been a Sayer Tristan. He's just been a top level player ever since he started eSailing. And then we have Pepito, also really good.
Yeah.
And then just the French team, their coordination. I'm guessing their communication on the team as well is really solid, and everybody knows what they have to do and what's going to happen next in each situation.
Yeah, I'm just looking down the French team, a real mix of ages as well. You know, Tristan Perron is very early 20s. You've got a 21-year-old Tim Carpentier and Alex Kay as well. But you've also got 52-year-olds. You've got 38-year-olds. So a real mix of ages. But the youngest guys sometimes are the most experienced eSailors.
Yeah, or they're at least the fastest on the keys. Faster reaction times really helps a lot in this game. And then I think Pepito and Tristan are just really good at coaching their team members as well, helping them in these close battles, getting them out on top.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us, you're sitting in Denmark. How did the Danish team do?
Oh, unfortunately, we got knocked out on the group stage early on. But we did have a lot of fun. It's always nice catching up with your eSailing mates after only racing against them in fleet race for the whole year.
And it does involve a lot of time and an effort, doesn't it? Competing as a team, as a Nations Cup, because you do all have to get together and have those strategy meetings and have to have those discussions about who's going to race which race. Who decides that?
Well, I was the team captain this year, but it looks like we've started the laser race. 50 seconds to go.
Okay, well, let's get out on the water then. It's 3 against 3 in the laser.
Laser, an interesting boat. Sometimes you get surprised that you hit each other. You can get some weird penalties, but that's part of the game. You gotta play by the game's rules and see who's the best at abusing them.
So if I've got my maths right, basically whoever wins the race, as long as they're not last, they don't have a last place within the team, will be enough to win this race. Let's see how it unfolds. 10 seconds to go. Once again, France in pink, Spain in yellow. In this laser, it's one sail, so it's easier to deal with for beginners. It's a great, if you're starting eSailing, this is the boat to really get to learn how to handle. And already we had a little bit of a battle at the pin end of the line there between this French and Spanish boat, and the Spaniard disengaging, heading off to the left. Alex Kay, one of the French youngsters we were talking about, 3.8 knots, heading upwind now for the first time, but it's Ramon Parejo. Not a long break for him from the last race, straight into this one. Orihuela in fourth. And how would you race this, Lucas?
The Laser, it's a very tough boat for team racing. The tacks, especially in this big breeze, the boat tacks are very slow. So you really want to do what we call a roll tack in real life, a power tack in VR, bear away, and then turn up head to wind and tack. So we might see some boats stuck head to wind if they're unlucky. Good start from the French, a bit more even this time. Spanish also well up in the fleet. See them in a 1-2 at the moment. Really close with Tristan here, also in a
So
good position.
is this a race where beforehand the teams have decided who is going to take on which opponents? So, for example, Gadet will have said, I'm going to take on who's that beside him? I'm going to take on Parejo.
Well, I think it really depends on where you are after the start. You could be unlucky, start with a penalty, and you can't really do anything. While if you started in the front, you really just want to try your best to slow down the opponents. So it's quite hard to decide who takes on who. It really just comes up to where you're on the start. Tristan doing a good job of penalizing the Spanish boats.
The French, by the way, got to decide the location for the racing tonight, and they chose Pointe Pitre in Guadeloupe, where, of course, the transatlantic route de Rhum has just finished there in recent days. And what a race full of drama that was over the last sort of 10 days to 2 weeks. In fact, some of the boats still finishing off the race. But our focus is right here. We're 2.5 minutes into what could prove to be the deciding match of this semi-final between France and Spain. France need just one more victory to go through to the final. And right now it is Ramon of Spain who is trying to hold off the French. But it's going to be tough with Tristan Perron in there, Gadek and Alex also in the top five.
Tristan forcing in a penalty just around the mark. It's the only thing he could do. Hopefully the Spanish are trying to get Ramon away, so it makes their job a bit easier. Nice penalty on Gadek here from Jay Parejo. Looks like Ramon is gonna be able to sneak away, securing that first position. So now it's just up to the two remaining Spanish guys to stay in the fight and not get too far behind the French boats. They're doing a good job of slowing down the French boats here, letting
Yeah.
Ramon sail away.
Eduardo Orihuela of Spain, sort of bringing up the rear of the Spanish fleet, just 17 years old from Sevilla, with so much pressure on his shoulders right now. Parejo, the experienced sailor from Valencia, he's holding back to help the youngster, and they're trying to keep Tristan at the back of the fleet. Tristan Perron of France in sixth, and that's where they want to keep him.
Really good job from the Spanish boats, just doing their best they can to force some mistakes from the French players. They've not had many mistakes for the first 4 races.
Oh, penalty on the youngster from Tristan Perron. I mean, it's a daunting. Perron, he's a young guy as well, but he's been to World Championship finals. He's done Nations Cup finals. He's a defending champion in the Nations Cup. Hugely experienced, spends many, many hours training, well known within the community. It's a daunting opponent to have chasing you down when you're 17 and still kind of trying to master the game. But right now, Ramon is out in front for Spain, so they need to get the two Spanish boats at the back. They need to move off that position in order to get victory, because until that gate, Spain were in control, but France have now taken the lead in this race.
Yeah, it looks like Alex K managed to force on a penalty on Eduardo after the gate. So they're doing a fantastic job in
The other semi-final going on, sorry, the other quarter-final going on at the moment. Great Britain 3, Turkey 1.
good comeback from the British after being 1-0 down.
So Ramon in the lead, but for as long as Orihuel stays at the back in 6th place, Spain are going to go out of this competition because France have control. They've got 8 points in total as they come upwind once again.
Hard decision for Ramon here. If he lets go of first place, it might just be game over. So either he gotta hand out 3 penalties, one for each French boat, or he's gonna just finish the race in first place and hope that his teammates are able to bring the fight back into this race by themselves.
So they're coming up to the top mark for the final time. 2 battles to keep an eye on here. At the front, can Ramon stay in front? Can he win the race? And then it's a case of looking backwards and seeing what his teammates have done. And right now they haven't done enough. The Spanish need to move off 6th place. They need to catch Tristan Perron, the hugely
Ramon is
experienced
waiting,
French sailor.
trying to mark trap Alex K. He makes sure he does. And now it looks like he's just gonna try slow down the 2 remaining French boats, but they have the exact same idea.
So French trying to trap and inflict penalties on the Spanish, and Spanish trying to do the same to the French. Oh, it's a dirty game, this, but it's coming right down to the wire. Spain have nothing to
Another
lose.
penalty for Spain.
This could be their last chance, their last leg in the Nations Cup, as Alex Kay leads down to the finish line, and it's going to be another French victory as things stand.
Really nice work from Tristan here. Just slowing down Ramon to try get Alex K to sneak away from the wind shadow. But
Right,
looks
so here
like
we go then. We have got Alex Kay out in front. Orihuel has moved up to 2nd place. So now the battle is back here between Ramon Parejo and Gadek. Parejo, if he
penalty.
finishes penalty on the Spaniard, and that could be it. That
Another
might be enough
penalty.
to seal the victory for France as Alex Kay crosses the finish line to win the race with an 88-meter advantage from Orihuel, who's done so well to get up into 2nd. And now it's an all-out battle. It's Spain, it's the rear enders fighting it out to try and move up the fleet. But it's a 1-2 for Spain, 3 and 3rd, 4th, and 5th for Spain. It's a 1st and 2nd for France, and France have done enough to go to seal this semi-final 5-0 so far and go through to the final.
That's some really, really good sailing from France. The Spanish fighting all they can, trying to force some penalties on the French boats, but unfortunately not managing on the last downwind.
Wow, and an extraordinary victory for France, 5-0 in this best of 9 match in the semi-final. The other quarter-final is now Great Britain 4, Turkey 1, and they are looking good for the other semi-final finish. So let's look back at this. Congratulations, France are the winning team of this first semi-final of the Nations Cup. France are going to go through to the final. What a way to do it.
That was nearly a masterclass from the French team, really showcasing both their individual skill and their skill as a team. Just some really, really good showing from the French team. We see the start was pretty equal from both teams. France slowly just moving up the leaderboard, cementing their win in this race.
Yeah, congratulations to France. They have absolutely dominated this semi-final. It's been extraordinary. So they won the 49, they won the Star, they won the J70, they won the Laser 5-0 against Spain. And we were discussing this, weren't we, before coming on air, and all of us thought this was going to be a close match. So it shows how much we know, eh, Lucas?
Yeah, we also said we didn't want a 5-0. But
well, we got it, and we're going to stay with it,
it
because we want to see if Spain, who are now just playing for pride, if they can restore some pride and come out of this. Who knows? Maybe they can come out of this 5-4. We've still got races in the Far East, the Star, the F50, and the awesome fast Nacra as well. And that's all still to come. Looking forward to that, Lucas, despite the fact that this semi-final is now a sealed deal.
Maybe we'll get some fun racing with plenty of penalties and they're just having fun. That would be nice to see. Some very epic battles on the race course.
Yeah, that's all that's left for Spain, of course, now. And we're just waiting to hear when the next race is going to get underway. So the winner, by the way, of Great Britain and Turkey, and at the moment, Great Britain are winning that quarter-final, are going to meet Italy in the semi-final in 2 days' time, and we'll be bringing you that live at 8 p.m. 2000 hours UTC. But who knows? Maybe the Turks will still come back. So we will see. Right, let's get back out on the water, because we've got race number 6 coming up now in this semi-final between France and Spain. It's the Far East. It's not a boat that we necessarily know a lot about.
Relatively new boat to the game. Been used for match racing in Sweden in real life. So maybe some of the players have raced the boat in real life in Sweden.
Yep, it's a boat I think that's made in China. It's very big in the Far East, hence its name. And we're just delaying the start because there are a few connection issues. I don't know whether that's with the Spanish players or the French players at the moment, but we're just waiting to get the start sequence going for that 6th race of this semi-final. It's 4 against 4, so again another one of those races that can be a draw. Maybe you could explain why when it's a draw we end up giving the win to the boat that came, the team I should say, that came second.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but it could be that you don't just want a team just sailing off in the distance with one guy and not fighting in order to get one more point for your team.
I think it's all in the spirit of sailing and the team spirit of it, that you can't do exactly what you said, Lucas. You got to kind of stay back and help your team get back in the hunt. Right, exactly. We are almost underway now. We're into the minute pre-start of this race, so let's get a closer look at the water and see how they're lining up for this start. And I would guess on a boat of this size and maneuverability, we're going to have a slightly more conservative start.
Hopefully, we'll see another good Spanish start with 29 seconds to go. Looks like they're lining up late, trying to force a penalty on the French boat just before the start. Penalty for breast power. Penalty for Rasenlag. Looks like they're racing for the pin end, trying to get clear and get out of the penalty here 4 seconds before the start. All the French boats on one side.
Yeah, so a definite split there between the two teams, the French choosing the pin end of the line. And we've seen the Spanish have some really good starts in this semi-final. And in this boat, that start is crucial because the wind shadow is less of a factor on the downwind leg, giving you less opportunity to catch the boats in front. 30 seconds into the race, and our leaders are moving over to this left-hand side. You can see the darker water, suggesting that there is stronger breeze over this side of the course.
We'll also have a big right-hand shift. Looks like it's dying a bit on the left-hand side. But yeah, the French in a really strong position, able to just control where they want the Spanish boats to go, keep them bunched up, keep them in the wind shadow. Really, really good job from the French team.
So once again, the French dominating the Spanish team. Garrick, Pepito, and Alex Kay out in front, taking those first three positions. Early days, though, that could change as they come up to the top mark and maybe the wind shifts and the fleet converges on itself.
Penalty for Carlos. Pass forced to him by Pepito. Once again, showcasing how skilled he is at just controlling the opponent.
Pepito, of course, a bronze medalist at the World Championships last year.
Penalty for Alex K. Looks like the Spanish are actually back in this race. For now. The French maybe have gone a bit too far on to the left-hand side, letting the front Spanish boats back in this race. Close mark rounding. Penalty for Gadek. But again, another close race. That'll probably come down. Ooh, that's not so good for Jesus. Parked up, had to win the windward mark. Really good job from Rasenlag. 2 penalties onto the French. Fortunately, a penalty to one of his teammates as well.
Yeah, so here we go. Those big spinnakers out now and speeding up to almost 16 knots downwind. Oh, a
Ooh,
crash there between French boats. What are they doing?
communication error probably. Good they didn't do those before they secured the victory. But field is nice and bunched up. Looks like they'll keep the fight on for the next upwind.
Bottom gate and Rausenlag leads the fleet round, and then it's France in second and third, and then come the rest of the Spanish boats. So France once again well placed.
Penalty for multiple Spanish boats coming out of that gate. Really unfortunate. Hopefully Rosenlag can do his best to try and get them back in this race again.
Yeah, so what can Rausenlag do? I think we're about to see what he can do, but talk us through it, Lucas.
Nice, forcing a penalty onto breast power, and then immediately going down to another French boat to cover wind shadow. So that's could be two Spanish boats in front now. We gotta wait and see what happens here on the left-hand side. Wind is looking to shift a bit left now and then head back right as they approach the windward mark.
The quarterfinal, Great Britain and Turkey for a place in the second semi-final of the Nations Cup is going Britain's way. It has gone Britain's way. Britain have just beaten Turkey 5-1 in the quarterfinal. So Great Britain will take on Italy on the 30th. So that's Wednesday, and the winner of Great Britain Italy will play France on Sunday night, and we will bring you both those encounters live on this channel. Can't wait as Gadek and Rausenlag come up to this mark together. Gadek gives way as he should have done. Rausenlag still
trying to
just
slow
about
down the French boats. Might think about, thinking about the mark trap here. Hoisting the spinnaker, ready to accelerate as soon as he's handing a penalty out for a French boat, but doesn't look like he will succeed in getting one pen, but it's still all bunched up here on the last downwind.
Rausenlag and Gadek fighting it out so closely that they looked as if they were on top of each other on the graphic there. Rausenlag and Parejo lead the fleet downwind to the finish line, being chased by Alex Kay and Gadek. So it's Spain 1-2, France 3-4, and it's really close, this coming to the end of this final downwind.
Looks like France are gonna end up with the last place here, so looks good for the Spanish team now. May be able to secure a 1-point penalty for J. Parejo.
So Rausenlag crosses the finish line to take the victory, but more importantly for Spain, Pepito and another French boat, I think it was trapped there at the back of the fleet, bring up the rear. So it looks like that's going to be the first Spanish victory of the night. It's too late, but at least it's a victory, and they can say it wasn't a whitewash. Confirmation of the scores there then, third for Spain, fifth for Spain, and seventh for Spain, but Pepito in eighth probably, I think, means that victory will go to España.
Nice work from the Spanish guys here. A bit behind in the start, but then clawing their way back through the whole race.
Well, it's ironic, isn't it? That was possibly one of their slowest starts, and they ended up winning the race. Whereas previously, we've seen them have really good fast starts, and then they've gone and lost the race.
Yeah, they did a good job just holding on to the French, forcing them into some mistakes we haven't seen in the last 5 races.
Confirmation of that score, Spain win it 16-20. So well done to Spain. I finally get to put a 1 in their win column. Well done. So it's 5-1 to France in this semi-final. Can Spain get any more on the scoreboard? It is the star class next, so it's 1 against 1. This time it's 2 males going head to head. I would guess that Tristan Perron is going to be one of those star sailors, but when we get out on the water, we'll be able to confirm their sailors. So once again, quite a slow, heavy boat, former Olympic class of boat. Lucas, do you like sailing the Star?
It's gets a bit boring after, or at least if you're behind, as we saw before in the first star race, then yeah, you really want to try keep it close until the final downwind and not do any silly mistakes on the first downwind.
Some interesting match racing tactics though in this head-to-head in the star class. We'll go out onto the water in a few seconds time. They're just setting up the course in Ponte Pietra in Guadeloupe, where I imagine the weather will be absolutely fantastic. Shame we can't actually be there, eh?
Yeah, that's the good thing about eSailing. Always good weather and plenty of breeze.
Yeah, and we always start on time. Yeah, we're waiting to get out onto the water once we've got clearance that they are ready. So we've got Ramon, okay, Parejo of Spain, and as we predicted, Tristan Perron of France will be taking each other on in this race. They haven't quite started the sequence yet, but it is underway now as we're into that final minute. And there you can see, if you've just joined us, that at the top of the screen is the score so far in this first semi-final of the 2022 Nations Cup. 5-1 so far by France. It's already in the bag. But these two sailors, hugely experienced, they've raced against each other so many times. There's so much history between them. Off the water, I'm sure they're friends. On the water, they mean business.
Yeah, it looks like they're really fighting for position here. Tristan, the trailing boat, trying to force Ramon into a late tack.
Oh,
nice work from Tristan.
Penalty there on Ramon. Well, Tristan Perron certainly not hanging back. He's won the semi-final. He knows he's through to the final, and I guess this is a chance for him to practice the sort of tactics that he'll be doing in the final on Sunday. And a good start from both boats, especially from Tristan, who just nosed across the line first. But it's Ramon who's in the position he wants to be in.
Yeah, so Tristan, he's gonna be trying to sail a bit higher and crawl up under Ramon. Looks like it's worked, and Ramon has to tack away. But a nice sort of even start. Nice recovery from Ramon in that start. Wind shifting a bit to the left here. Nice for Tristan. It looks like we're gonna have another close first downwind.
Yeah, these opening legs have been very close indeed, heading up to the top mark in so many of these races. You can see the mini radar in the top left corner. Those windsocks, the red and white stripes, give you a really good idea of which direction the wind is coming from, and you can see the waters darken as well on that mini map there. From the bird's eye view as well, you can see the wind is stronger on that right hand side, which is exactly where they're heading to that white dotted line, and then they will tack as they head into the mark.
Probably gonna see Ramon just continuing until he's actually gonna try force steer into a tacking duel, hoping that he misclicks in one of his tacks and stops and head to wind.
Both World Championship finalists, these two, and Ramon, who's currently doing the chasing and the attacking from behind, was second in 2020.
Nice work at keeping the racing close here. Fortunately, just had to do one more tack than Tristan, losing 20 meters to him, but it's not enough to get away just yet.
So here we go. It's that maneuver to set them off downwind, and he's going left and he's being chased by Ramon. Do you think that's the right decision, Lucas? Do you think Ramon should have taken his own line?
I think as how the wind is now, it's all right just to continue. But Tristan, he doesn't want to lose the starboard advantage when going back into the mark. So in general, you gotta have to jibe to cover your starboard advantage when you're the leading boat.
So we explained in the last race with the Star that it's all about the wind shadow, and we're now seeing that take an effect as Ramon starts to close the gap on Tristan, and it's all about whether Tristan can stay in the lead, and he goes on the attack.
Gonna be interesting now if Ramon has enough speed to just slide in front of Tristan or coming inside the mark zone and having the right of way around the mark. So just trying to squeeze that boat bow down, trying to hit the zone, but it's very close, neck and neck.
We're going to need another jibe to get in, but he's being forced out to the right
Looks
hand
like
side by Tristan.
Tristan just has enough and hands over a penalty to Ramon. Nice work from Tristan.
Incredible
That,
racing there from Tristan. So confident, isn't he? So confident in his abilities and knowledge of the game.
and it just shows that how important it is to jibe around the windward mark just to keep the starboard advantage going down to the gate. Only 22 meters separating the two boats. Maybe we'll see Ramon initiating another tacking duel, but he doesn't have too far out to the left-hand ley line.
It's the policeman chasing the student here on the virtual waters. Ramon Parejo of Valencia trying to close that 22-meter gap on the young Tristan Perron. And it's going to be a tough ask, but we still have that final downwind leg, and that is what they're setting themselves up for. The Spaniard knows that if he manages to just stay close enough, and he is doing at the moment, if he keeps this sort of distance from the Frenchman, he will have the advantage heading downwind, even if he is in second place.
So hopefully we see Ramon doing all he can to cover Tristan on this last downwind and not just continue on the inside. Keeping a close distance to Tristan.
So Tristan Perron of France is round that mark first. Now it's about 40 meters at the moment, according to that stat between them, and that isn't close enough for Ramon Parejo. He needs to close that gap. He needs to put in a good maneuver here, round the mark. He needs to stay in touch with Tristan.
Just got him. Just got him. So now Ramon just has to cover the best he can, get close, and try to get that starboard advantage. Slowly reeling him in.
Right, we can all count the meters together as they go towards that finish line. We've lost the picture for a moment, and it was Tristan out in front, and
30
Ramon
meters
was
separating them.
chasing him. We're back with it live now, and that distance has dropped by 10 meters, by 12 meters, and it's dropping fast. But has Ramon got enough of the racetrack to catch Tristan? Is Tristan going to get another score for France here? 15 meters now separate the two. Tristan has got that starboard advantage, but can Ramon catch him? He's closing in on him fast, and it's just a few meters to go to the finish line. And
Looks like he's hooked him.
Trying to inflict a penalty on him. He's trying to get round him, but Perron is holding on. Tristan Perron of France is holding on to the finish line, and I think is well placed now he's being forced out now by Ramon. Penalty
Good
on
job
Tristan just when it mattered, just at the last second. And that gives Ramon Parejo the victory. Wow, what a finale.
keeping his cool all the way to the final penalty.
Okay, let's have a look at some of these stats because they're very interesting when it's one-on-one, isn't it? Best average speed, Ramon Pereira. I mean, it's Pereira's name all the way through that, except for shortest distance traveled.
Yeah, I think the best average speed probably helps a bit when you're the trailing boat on the downwind, slowing down your opponent. But well done from Parejo.
Yep, so another tick in the Spanish win box, bringing the score to 5-2. Two more races still to go. And I think for Spain, can you imagine if they end up finishing this 5-4, having lost those first 5 races? They will be very upset by that. But anyway, they're having fun. They're playing for pride. We know France are through to the final, and they will race against either Great Britain or Italy in the final on Sunday night. So, 2 races still to go, and they are the fastest boats still to come, aren't they? It's the SailGP F50 and it's the Nacra as well. Both foiling boats, both incredibly fast, and often the F50 and the Nacra are those that e-sailors kind of put down in their biogs as being their favourite e-sailing boat.
Yeah, especially the F50 is also a really good boat for team racing. The boat turns really fast, good boat handling, no sails to pull up and down. So it just sets up for some close and exciting racing.
With speed comes difficulty in control, and also the time you've got to think is really minimized. So you've got to be both sort of fast thinking, quick thinking, and also fast on the controls, because your maneuvers happen faster, your crashes happen faster, your penalties happen faster. I mean, it's breathtaking stuff.
Yeah, especially here in Virtual Regatta with the best VMG, where if you're below coming out of the tack and you're below 90 degrees and you hit the best VMG button, you all of a sudden start going downwind. Does happen sometimes, but I think these players are a bit too experienced for that to happen.
Well, we shall see. We've got a few moments, so we could talk about the other semi-final that we'll be covering in a couple of days' time. Great Britain against Italy. How do you see that?
We don't want to say too much, do we now? I think that
I'm
should
not
lead
asking for a
to.
prediction.
I think that's going to be a good race as well. Both nations have some really top level e-sailors, been around for a while as well. So I think that will be a good race to watch. But looks like we're in the start procedure here with 40 seconds left to go.
Let's go in game and watch this race unfold. So it's the F50. It's 2 against 2. It's Tristan again and Pepito, and then it's Carlos and Nozet of Spain. 24 seconds to go, reaching start, of course, in the F50, so it is super fast, and it is going to be a thrilling race. What about tactically, though? How do you see them? Well, let's just watch this start now, because they're coming up to the start line. Already a penalty for Pepito, and they've matched off. They've sort of doubled off the Spanish and the French boats, covering each other, and another good start for the Spaniard in the middle there.
Actually, a pretty good start from the Spanish, but Pepito keeping his speed and getting his boat in front of the Spanish, and then just a French masterclass again. Double penalty for the Spanish, and the French are off.
French are off. And once a team is away in the F50, it is very difficult to catch them.
Yeah, there's no wind shadow in these fast boats, or there is some, but on a downwind, it's really just unusable if you're the trailing boat.
But what we do see often in the F50 races are mistakes because things are happening so fast. And that is the opportunity that the Spanish will be waiting for. And you see they've already closed the gap on the French. And Tristan Perron holds back to engage Nozet to slow him down. And that worked as Carlos is now on his own and sandwiched between the French sailors.
Oh, mistake from the French. Really good job by Carlos trying to do a fake tack, forcing Pepito into a tiny mistake. And then you see in these boats, the more tacks you do, the more you lose because they're so fast. Good job from Carlos getting the Spanish back into this race. But it's going to be a tough job to stop these two French guys.
Yeah, the French, look at that houndings. That's Pepito, Tim Carpentier, the 21-year-old from Montpellier, is hounding Carlos Parejo down, staying right on his tail, keeping the pressure on as they come up to the latest turn.
Good job of staying out of penalties from the French. So they're having a split trying to get Carlos to pick one side and hoping to have a bit more breeze on one and overtake him in that way. But it's going to be, yeah, it looks like a tough job for Carlos. He really needs to get now set back in this fight in order to win. Close cross. Looks like the French have done a good job of splitting and making sure one of them at least is in front.
As things stand, it's going to be a French victory. So Nozet needs to move up. He needs to get a place ahead.
Nice job from Carlos penning Pepito in that gate rounding. And he has a starboard advantage on Tristan as well. Dial down, forcing
So
Tristan
now
to go even lower.
suddenly the fortunes have changed and France are on the attack. They've got to chase the Spanish, who've now taken the advantage.
Oh, another nice move from Carlos. Tacking in front of Tristan and just pointing the bow down, speeding up the boat, and Tristan has nowhere to go. Classic team race move in the F50. But they gotta watch out for Pepito. He's very far out to the right. The wind has a big right shift as well. And I think he's
Yeah,
just managed to get in front.
yeah.
And now set. The man in the lead having to stop
Who'd have thought that
Pepito.
at this point when they last passed it 2 legs ago? Who would have thought Nozet would be out in front? Being chased by Pepito, then it's Carlos. So at the moment, it's going to be a Spanish victory. So the tables have turned, but they may yet turn again. We've got a leg and then a final reach to the finish line with Pepito right on Nozet's tail.
Close rate, nice
Oh,
job from now
penalty on
set.
Pepito. Penalty
Carlos
on
a
Carlos.
penalty as well. That's unfortunate. Now it really just comes down to this last final short leg to the finish line. Not much you can do in these fast boats.
It's all equal at the moment, so it's a fight for not finish first at the moment, as Tristan has gone in the lead and now slows down, and it's a 1-2 to France. But oh, penalty on the two Spanish boats, and
Another
that is
nice
going
move
to
from the
cost them the
French.
race. Goodness, right on that last mark. The French knew exactly what they were doing, and it's going to be France first and second, and it's going to be France 6 to Spain's 2.
Another good combination from the French. Tristan going way past ley line, jibing on the inside of Carlos, pushing him up head to wind, giving
Two
him
stars of the
him a
French team
penalty.
showing why they are the talisman of that French team. So yeah, another victory to France. giving them a total of 6 to Spain's 2. We have one final race, and it is in the Nacre, and it's going to involve everyone. It's the grand finale coming up as France win their 6th race of this best of 9 regatta.
Again, some good racing from the French. It also shows that racing can be close in boats doing 50 plus knots.
Now, just looking at the other race that, or I should say, the other regatta that's been happening tonight, Great Britain against Turkey in the semi-final. Great Britain, I can confirm, have now won that 7-1, so they are through to the semi-final. They're going to be racing against Italy. You've been following this Nations Cup all the way through since early October. Who do you think France would prefer in that final? Great Britain or Italy?
I don't think it really matters for them with the level they're showing for this matchup against Spain. I think if they keep their high level from the semi-final, I think every other team is probably going to fear them instead of the French fearing another team.
I imagine the French team will sit and they will watch that semi-final on Wednesday when we bring it to you live on this channel. Great Britain against Italy. Looking forward to that. One more race to come. I'm just having a look at the monitor to see how far we are away from the start of that Nacre race. So the Nacre, foiling Nacre, it's 10 against 10. If you've never seen this race before, honestly, don't blink, because you'll miss it. It'll be over before you know it. It is, well, I always call it's like Star Wars. It's a battle in Star Wars when you watch the graphics on the screen with all these fast boats zinging around, and kind of impossible to know what the heck's going on until we see the result at the end. So all great fun, and of course this race doesn't matter. It's going to be big fun. It's going to be great fun. France are through. France have been through now since winning the first 5 races of this best of 9 semi-final. So we will go in game very shortly. And what's impressed you most about the French team, Lucas?
Well, I wouldn't say they haven't won a race just by being lucky. I think they've really showed their teamwork is really good, their team communication is really good, and I think they just have a really solid team with some good individual players, and also maybe some less experienced players, but that are just really good at staying out of trouble and just sailing fast, which is also really important.
Okay, features to look out for in the Nacre race.
Fast racing, maybe a bit chaotic on stream, hard to follow. Might see a lot of penalties flashing on the screen at once.
Can't rely on that downwind leg to make any difference.
Looks like we're gonna have a restart. Maybe we were missing some players.
Yeah, I mean, it's trying to coordinate 20 players to all join the server at the same time. So race management deciding to give them another chance, and we're going to restart that race. I can see them just preparing for that. And of course, they are in touch with the players on the various chat forums, letting them know what's going on, and the players as well, if they've got technical issues. They can call a delay to the race, can't they, in certain circumstances?
Yeah, sometimes you're trying to log into the race and the race committee doesn't, or the race officer doesn't see that there's missing a player, especially when it's 20 players. It's a long list to scroll through, and it looks like all players are in, so that stuff does happen. We're lucky tonight that we haven't had any big issues, some smooth racing.
Good. Well, let's see if the French can give us another masterclass in racing. This time in the NACRA. Let's go in game. You can see that long list of players down that left-hand side as the NACRA starts to zing along the race course behind the start line. They haven't begun the countdown for this yet. But look at the score. I can't get over this. We, in our predictions about 2 hours ago when we came on air, said that it was going to be really close. And I cannot believe we're now looking at a score of 6-2.
I guess that's why you shouldn't predict the score beforehand.
That previous race, by the way, the reason it was cancelled was because we had 11 French players in the game and only 9 Spanish players. So something had clearly gone wrong there. So we've tried again, and now I think it's all fair. I'm just counting the French flags on the screen. 2, 4, 6. Well, I can only see 9 there. But anyway, that's not our problem, is it, Lucas? That's the race management's problem. We can just sit back and
enjoy
racing. That's right. And you've done your fair bit of race management, and it comes with various complications and frustrations, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard, especially when we've had up to 60 players in one time, so you're managing
Wow.
3 fleets while you're racing yourself. It quickly becomes a lot of work just keeping track of everyone, joining the races, joining the correct group, and all sorts of stuff.
All right, let's go in game and watch this start now. We're under 30 seconds to the start of the final race of this first semi-final of the 2022 Nations Cup. It's already been sealed by France.
A
If you've
lot of
just joined us,
pink boats
they
close
won
to
the
the
first
line.
10 seconds to go. So here we go. They are already fighting it out, these two, on the start line as the rest of the fleet come in at the committee boat end. They are away, and look at all those penalties. That
A
is
lot of
going over
penalties.
early. That is for hitting on the boats. And, well, Lucas did warn us there'd be lots of red flashing on the screen throughout this race.
Yeah, it's a classic NACRA 10 versus 10 race. People really fighting for position in the start. And with these fast accelerations, it's really easy to be over early, which we saw happen to some of these players. Looks like pretty equal at the moment. A couple of pink boats, a couple of yellow boats in the front pack. It's gonna be come down to who has the most wind at the moment. Looks okay for the Spanish boats.
Look at that dark patch on the water on the sort of right up the middle of the course. That is strong breeze there.
Yeah, and the NACRA just keeps accelerating the more wind you have. So it's really good being in the dark areas.
Although there is a limit, isn't there, where it starts to actually
I
sort of
think
have
they
the
actually
opposite effect.
updated that because I think last year the NACRA did slow down the more wind you had, but that was changed at some point. So it just keeps accelerating. Some penalties handed out, one for the Spanish, for Marina, and then we have, yeah, again, always close at the first windward mark.
So for the moment, the fleet has really spread out right across the course, left and right. But as it converges at this top mark, that's when it goes all a little bit crazy. Penalty for Louis of France, sorry, of Spain. And now a whole load of yellow Spanish boats come round, followed by the French.
Looks like the Spanish have really done a good first upwind here. A lot of yellow boats in the
They
front
will have
first half.
decided what their tactic was before they started the race. They'll have decided whether they were going to go on the attack or on the defensive.
But yeah, I think in the NACRA it's really hard to plan But what's gonna happen with these speeds, and you never know if half the team is over on the start line. But it looks really good for the Spanish. A lot of them in the top 10.
Yeah, it's a Spanish wall. They're all Spanish except for 2 French sailors in the top 10. This is going to be a Spanish victory unless France can really reel them in as they go upwind. We're at the halfway stage of this race.
Bit spread out again here. Trying to get organized, trying to find some French boats to cover. Trying not to hit each other all at the same time.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be much of a threat to that yellow wall of Spain, does there? The
No,
French
they've
seem.
done a really good job at spreading out, not covering each other.
So here we go again, strong puffs of wind over this side of the course. And I think we're going to see these, or those boats that were closest to us coming up to the mark now. And let's see as they close in on the mark if the French have managed to make any sort of dent on
Penalty
the
for French boat.
Orihuel out
But
in
there's not.
front.
It's going to be hard for the French to claw their way back in this race. Looks
Right,
like the
look at this now.
Spanish.
So 2 French boats around, but look at the yellow wall that is coming round there now, and it's fairly impregnable. Uh, I think it's Cool and Gincy of France are the 2 cool sailors doing their best to penetrate that yellow wall, but it's looking very difficult for them as the leaders already approach the finish line. Um, and Stefan of France in second place, the only Frenchman in the top 10 at the moment.
Looks like there's one Crick. He's really trying to cause some mayhem in the Spanish fleet. But fortunately, he gets a penalty, so not much. Doesn't look like the French can do so much anymore. Spanish boats cruising to the finish line.
So a victory for Orihuel, second for France, but then it was really Spain all the way in that NACRA race. So a victory, a third victory of the semi-final for Spain. Um, and well done to them. Look at that. Really impressive. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. That little Frenchman sneaking in there in eighth. And then ninth and 10th. So a really great performance right at the end for France, making the score 6-3 in this semi-final. And I think that will go down as a bit of a legendary semi-final for France. They so dominated those first 5 races. So although Spain win the final race, it is a French victory overall, and France will go through to the final. Congratulations to them. They will meet Great Britain or Italy on Sunday night in the grand final. Will it be Great Britain? Will it be Italy? Lucas doesn't want to put his head on the line and make a prediction. And I'm, of course, torn, being half Italian. Who's going to win? Who am I going to support? It's the usual dilemma. So may the best team win. Isn't that right, Lucas?
Yeah, I think both teams have some really good individual players. So it's all about getting those players to work together as a team.
Yeah, well, given our predictions for this semi-final, which were completely wrong, we thought it was going to be close, but in the end, France totally dominated. Congratulations to them. Lucas, thanks very much for joining me and giving us your expert advice. And we're looking forward to the rest of the climax to the Nations Cup. Lucas, thanks very much. We'll let you get on in Denmark. So from Lucas and from me, Alec Wilkinson, we will see you Wednesday night for the next semi-final, Great Britain against Italy. But for tonight, it's well done and congratulations to France, our first finalists in the Nations Cup 2022. Bye-bye.